My late father taught me to fix things, the human boy told the Dragon Queen in the blizzard. The wind howled across the frozen plains. Snow whipped in sharp sheets, cutting at anything that moved. The sky was gray and heavy, and the sun barely showed as a pale circle behind thick clouds. In the middle of the storm, a small figure stumbled across the ice. Ethan Gray, a human boy of 14, struggled to move. His clothes were soaked and frozen, and every step felt like walking through knives. His hands and face were red with cold, and his breath came out in short, harsh gasps. He had been separated from his small group of explorers when the blizzard came without warning. The humans on this world were few. Most thought it was too dangerous to even try. They had come to explore, to study the strange energy crystals hidden beneath the ice, and to learn about the dragons that ruled this land. Dragons were enormous winged creatures that breathed fire and controlled storms. Humans feared them, and rightly so, for a dragon's strength could crush a city in a day. Yet Ethan had a strange feeling. Dragons were strong, yes, but they did not understand every part of the world. They could not fix broken things. Humans could. His father had taught him that. His father had been a mechanic on a small human ship. He had taught Ethan to fix engines, machines, and even small tools. "Look at a thing, Ethan," his father had said. "Don't fight it. Listen to it. Broken things always tell you what they need. You just have to see it." Those lessons now came to Ethan's mind as he stumbled over a chunk of ice. He saw it before he hit it, a broken supply crawler half buried in the snow. The crawler's metal body was bent, its lights dim and flickering, and smoke rose from one side. Ethan's heart lifted a little. He was cold and tired, but he knew how to help. He crawled closer, pushing snow off the metal. He opened a small panel and peered inside. Wires were cut, circuits cracked, and a small fuel line had burst. He set down his backpack and pulled out the small toolkit his father had made him carry everywhere. His hands shook from cold, but he wrapped them around a small wrench and began work. He whispered to himself, "My father would know what to do. I just have to listen." He checked each wire, each pipe, and slowly began to reconnect what he could. Sparks flew and small fires started in the damaged circuits. He did not panic. He remembered how his father had stayed calm in worse situations. He worked for nearly an hour, shivering, barely moving from exhaustion. The wind tore at him and snow covered his hair and face, but finally he straightened the fuel line and tightened the last bolt. He pressed the starter button. The crawler shuddered, then came to life. Warm lights glowed and the small heat engine hummed. Ethan smiled, almost laughing from relief. The heat began to warm his frozen fingers. He had done it. He had fixed it. Above the plains, wings beat through the storm. Dragons moved like dark shadows, cutting through the snow and wind. One dragon, larger than the others, circled lower, its golden eyes watching the boy. This was Queen Lyra, ruler of the Northern Territories. Her scales shimmered even in the gray light, and her fire glowed faintly in the storm. She had never seen a human survive a blizzard like this, let alone fix a machine. Curiosity burned stronger than hunger, and she moved closer to the boy, careful not to show the full strength of her wings. Ethan did not see her at first. He was focused on repairing a small hatch to keep the cold out. Then he felt a shadow pass over him. He looked up and froze. The dragon's eyes locked on him, and for a moment he felt his chest tighten with fear. The dragon opened her mouth slightly, letting a plume of warm smoke rise into the air. Ethan did not run. He remembered what his father had told him about fear. Fear tells you to stop, but courage tells you to move anyway. He took a deep breath and said, "Hello. I can fix things." The dragon cocked her head. She had never heard a human speak with such calm in the face of danger. Most humans screamed and ran, but this one stood there, small and fragile, and yet unafraid. She circled again, closer this time, and let a gust of wind push him against the crawler. Ethan held on to the edge and kept his hands busy with repairs. He felt the heat of the engine, the warmth spreading slowly into his body, and he ignored the chill around him. After a long moment, the dragon landed lightly on the ice, shaking off snow. She was huge, easily 10 times Ethan's size, and her golden scales reflected faint light. Her eyes studied him, piercing, as if trying to see inside his mind. Ethan looked up at her and said, "My father taught me to fix broken things. He said you can fix anything if you try." The dragon made a low sound in her throat, almost like a growl. She had never heard a human speak of fixing things with such understanding. Dragons ruled by strength and fire. They crushed what was broken. Humans fixed it. It was a strange idea, but it intrigued her. Ethan saw the dragon's interest and felt a small spark of hope. He said, "I can help you. I know machines. I know how to make them work again. If you want." His voice trailed as he realized how small he was compared to her. Yet the dragon did not roar or attack. She merely leaned closer, letting the snow fall around them. Ethan felt a small warmth from her presence. She smelled like smoke and ice, and the air near her shimmered slightly with heat. Finally, she spoke. Her voice was deep and slow, like the rolling of a distant volcano. "You are human. Why do you survive when others die?" Ethan thought for a moment. He shrugged. "I guess I know how to keep going. My father, he said to never give up. He said broken things need patience, not power." The dragon tilted her head, considering this. She had never thought of patience as strength. Dragons had always relied on size, fire, and magic. Humans were different. The blizzard raged on, but Ethan began to feel safe beside the dragon. She did not move closer yet, but she did not leave. He finished fixing the crawler completely, and the engine now roared with steady warmth. He climbed inside, lit the small cabin lamps, and offered a hand to the dragon. "I fixed it. See, it works." The dragon sniffed at the engine, then looked at him again. Her eyes were sharp, but something like respect burned inside them. She did not speak. She simply watched. Hours passed. The storm grew worse, but Ethan stayed with the crawler, repairing small instruments and checking engines. The dragon perched on a nearby ridge, wings folded, watching him quietly. She felt a strange feeling she had never felt before. This human boy did not fear her. He did not beg. He did not run. He solved problems. Dragons ruled this world with fire and strength, but here was a creature smaller than her claws, yet sharper than her mind. As the night came, the blizzard began to soften. The wind was still strong, but the snow fell slower. Ethan finally leaned back, exhausted. He looked up at the dragon and said softly, "My father, he always believed that fixing things made you stronger. I hope I can do the same for others someday." The dragon lowered her head slightly, a gesture she had never made to any human before. She was curious now, and something deep inside her stirred. Perhaps humans were not weak. Perhaps strength could come in other ways, ways dragons could not yet imagine. The dragon finally spoke again, her voice echoing slightly in the ice plain. "Human, your courage, it is not like the others. I will take you to my cave. You will rest. We will see if your ways can survive our world." Ethan nodded, too tired to argue. He climbed into the crawler, and the dragon nudged it gently with her snout. The machine moved slowly, carrying him toward a large crystal cave. The warmth from the crawler and the heat of the dragon made him feel safe for the first time since the blizzard began. As they reached the cave, Ethan looked up at the dragon. "Thank you," he whispered. The dragon's eyes softened. She had no words for gratitude, but she allowed him to enter her home. Inside, the cave glittered with crystals that shone like fire. Warmth spread through the room. Ethan lay down, still exhausted but not afraid. He thought about his father, about the lessons he had learned, and he smiled slightly. Outside, the storm continued. But inside the cave, a small human boy had proven that courage, patience, and the ability to fix broken things could survive even the fiercest blizzard. And a dragon queen watched him carefully, realizing for the first time that strength was not only in fire or size, but perhaps also in a human heart that refused to give up. The cave was warm and glowing. Light from the crystals reflected in soft colors across the walls. Ethan Gray shivered a little as he looked around. The Dragon Queen Lyra sat on a high ledge, wings folded neatly, eyes watching him with curiosity. The blizzard outside still raged, but inside the air was calm. Ethan rubbed his frozen hands together and tried to warm them near a small fire that burned on a crystal pedestal. He had never seen anything like this before. The cave felt alive, almost like it was breathing. Lyra spoke again. Her voice was deep and steady. "Human, you survived the storm. That is unusual. You fixed your machine. That is more unusual. Now you will see why I brought you here. Many of my machines are broken. They keep the Dragon Kingdom alive. They keep the fires burning and the storms under control. If they fail, my people suffer. You may help, or you may try and fail." Ethan nodded. He swallowed. He was tired, but he felt his father's words in his mind. Listen to it. Broken things tell you what they need. He had never been in a place with machines so large or strange, but he knew the principle was the same. They left the cave and walked across a frozen bridge of ice. The wind had lessened, but the sky was still gray. Dragons flew overhead, patrolling the area, their wings beating against the cold. Ethan looked up at them and felt a shiver of awe. Dragons were enormous, terrifying, and yet here he was, small and human, walking among them without fear. Lyra noticed and made no comment. She had seen many humans, but none like this one. They reached the heart of the Dragon City, where massive engines and strange crystal devices controlled volcanic heat, wind patterns, and even rainfall. The machines were old, some cracked and smoking, others frozen by ice. Dragon engineers had tried for years to repair them, but none had succeeded. The machines were too large, too complex, and too delicate. Lyra gestured at the largest of the devices. "This is the core chamber. It has been failing for days. Without it, the northern territories will freeze and many dragons will suffer. Try, human." Ethan stepped closer and studied the machine. It was enormous, metal and crystal, pipes twisting in every direction. Gears the size of wagons turned slowly, stuck and broken. Smoke rose from cracks and sparks flew where circuits had shorted. He felt overwhelmed for a moment, but then he remembered his father's words. Listen to it. Don't panic. He knelt down, pulled out his tools, and began to examine the outer panels. Each panel had markings he did not understand, but he touched them gently, letting his fingers trace the lines. He whispered, "Okay, what are you telling me?" A dragon engineer named Sira Flamewing watched from a safe distance. She had seen many humans, but none had ever repaired dragon machines. "Queen, do you really think he can do it?" she asked. Lyra's golden eyes were steady. "Watch, do not speak. The human has courage and patience. We will see if that is enough." Ethan worked slowly. He checked each wire, each gear, each pipe. He traced broken connections, tightened loose bolts, and rerouted small channels of energy. The dragon engineers whispered among themselves. It was impossible. No one had done this before. Hours passed. Ethan's hands were frozen, but he kept working. He recalled how his father had taught him to stay calm and focus. If one thing broke, fix it. If another broke, fix that. Never stop, never give up. He found the source of the smoke. A crystal conduit had cracked. He carefully replaced it with a spare he had carried in his pack. Sparks flew, but he did not move. He touched the lines, listening for warmth, listening for the hum of energy. Slowly, the machine began to stabilize. The heat that had been flickering and failing now held steady. Ethan smiled faintly. Sira moved closer, unable to hide her amazement. He is doing it," Lyra nodded. "The human listens. That is why he succeeds." Dragons were used to power, to strength, to force. They never considered listening as a form of power. Ethan continued, checking valves, realigning pipes, and repairing broken control panels. Every small adjustment brought the machine closer to life. He remembered the lessons from his father. Small things matter. Every broken wire has a purpose. Every machine wants to work again if you let it. Outside, more dragons watched. The blizzard had cleared in some areas, but snow still fell lightly. The dragons whispered among themselves, amazed that a human could survive such cold and danger. Inside the chamber, Ethan finally reached the main console. Lights flickered and dimmed. Circuits hummed. He took a deep breath and pressed a small lever. The core shuddered and roared to life. Heat spread slowly through the chamber, warm air rising and filling the space. The dragons stirred. Their wings beat slightly as the energy stabilized. The machines had begun to work. Lyra lowered her head closer to Ethan. "Human, how do you know what to do? No dragon has succeeded here in decades." Ethan wiped sweat and snow from his face. "My father taught me," he said, "broken things need patience, not power. You have to listen to them. They tell you how to heal." The dragon's eyes softened slightly. She had never thought of patience as a tool. Dragons fought, burned, and crushed. Humans thought differently. They studied, they observed, they solved. Sira stepped forward. "Queen, he saved the core. Without him, the northern territories would have frozen. He is small, but he is strong in ways we do not understand." Lyra nodded. "Strength is not always fire or size. Sometimes strength is understanding." Ethan smiled faintly. He did not know what to say. He had never expected dragons to respect him, but here he was, a human boy, making a difference where dragons could not. For the rest of the day, Ethan moved from machine to machine, repairing engines, clearing frozen conduits, and adjusting circuits. Each repair brought warmth back to the city. Dragons gathered near, watching him, whispering among themselves. They had never seen a human survive storms, survive cold, and fix things that dragons could not. Ethan did not boast or ask for reward. He simply worked, letting his father's lessons guide him. By nightfall, the chamber was fully operational. Heat flowed, vents cleared, and the machines hummed in perfect rhythm. Ethan leaned against a console, exhausted but smiling. Lyra descended from the ledge and sat near him. "Human, you have done what none of my people could. You have given life back to our machines and warmth to our city. For this, you have my respect." Ethan felt a small thrill. Respect from a dragon queen was worth more than gold. He thought of his father and whispered, "Thank you, Dad. I hope you would be proud." Outside the core chamber, a dragon patrol spotted movement in the distant hills. Rival aliens had been scouting the area. Ethan did not notice at first, but Lyra saw the tension in the patrols. She turned to him. "Human, stay here. I will handle them." Ethan shook his head. "Queen, maybe I can help. I can fix your defenses. Maybe we can stop them before they get close." She paused, then nodded. "Very well, show me your way." Ethan rushed to the defense controls. He worked quickly, repairing energy shields and redirecting power from broken channels. The alien scouts tried to break through, but the shields held. Dragons watched, amazed, as a human boy used simple tools and logic to strengthen their defenses. When the aliens finally retreated, Ethan slumped in exhaustion. Lyra lowered herself beside him again. "Human, you have saved my people twice today. First the core, then the city. Your courage and skill are unusual. You are not just small and human. You are remarkable." Ethan smiled faintly. He did not feel like a hero. He felt like a boy who had listened carefully and worked hard, just like his father had taught him. As the night grew quiet, Lyra led him back to the crystal cave. She gestured for him to rest. "Tomorrow more challenges will come. You will be ready, yes?" Ethan nodded, too tired to speak. He curled up near the warm crystals, thinking of engines, machines, and lessons learned. Outside, the stars shone faintly through the clouds. Dragons flew above, keeping watch. A human boy had proven that patience, skill, and understanding could overcome danger and even rival the greatest strength of dragons. And for the first time, Queen Lyra considered that humans were not weak. Perhaps in their small hands and fragile bodies, they held power that dragons could never imagine. And Ethan, thinking of his father of lessons about fixing broken things, drifted into sleep, ready for whatever the new day would bring the next morning. The sky was still gray, but the blizzard had passed. Snow lay thick across the plains, but the air was calm. Ethan Gray woke in the crystal cave, stretching stiff limbs. His hands and clothes were still cold, but the warmth from the crystals made him feel safe. He remembered what had happened yesterday, repairing the machines, saving the core, and even helping with the defenses. It was strange to think that a human boy had done things dragons could not, yet he also knew that today might bring more danger. Queen Lyra arrived, gliding silently into the cave. Her golden eyes studied him. "Human, today you will face more than machines. The scouts you stopped yesterday were only the first. Our rivals are stronger and more numerous. Your skills may be needed again." Ethan nodded, feeling a mix of fear and determination. He knew his father's lessons would guide him. Stay calm, observe carefully, and solve problems, no matter how big. He followed Lyra out of the cave, across the frozen plains toward the city's outer defenses. As they approached, a dragon captain named Sira Flamewing greeted them. Her wings were large and her scales shimmered in icy light. "Queen, the enemy approaches faster than we expected," she said. "We may not hold them if the shields fail." Lyra turned to Ethan. "Human, can you help? We need the shields and engines at full power." Ethan swallowed but nodded. He had repaired machines before, and he had learned quickly yesterday. Now the stakes were higher. He ran toward the control towers, his small frame moving through the snow as dragons took to the sky. The enemy appeared first as tiny specks in the gray distance, then grew larger, sleek ships and alien warcraft cutting through the snow and ice. Their weapons glowed with energy, ready to strike. Dragons roared and rose to meet them, but many engines and shield systems were still damaged from the storm. Ethan reached the control panels, his fingers numb but his mind alert. He traced the broken circuits, rerouted power from spare conduits, and adjusted energy flows. Sparks flew, but he did not stop. He whispered to himself, "Dad, help me think. I can do this." Sira watched him closely. "Queen, look at him. He knows what to do." Lyra nodded. She had seen bravery before, but this was different. Ethan was small, fragile, and human, yet he moved among machines that dragons struggled to understand. He repaired broken channels and stabilized energy flows. The shields flickered, then glowed steadily. The dragons who had been uncertain now roared in confidence. Their wings beat as they moved to defend the city. The enemy fired first. Energy beams struck the shields, but the shields held. Ethan's quick repairs and adjustments kept them stable. Sparks flew from broken control panels, and ice cracked under the pressure, but he did not falter. Nearby, another human pilot named Lucas Brown arrived in a small rescue craft. He had heard of Ethan's skill and had come to help. Together, they worked on rerouting damaged systems and clearing frozen conduits. Lucas marveled at Ethan's calmness. "I've never seen anyone stay so steady in a battle," he said. Ethan shook his head. "I just focus. Dad said you fix things one step at a time." Dragons fought in the sky, their fire lighting the gray clouds. Alien ships were fast, but the human repairs made the difference. Shields absorbed hits, engines roared to life, and energy flows stabilized weapons. Dragons began pushing the enemy back, using coordinated strikes that would have failed without Ethan's work. He climbed a tower to adjust a broken targeting console. His fingers were stiff with cold, but he worked quickly. The human mind, careful and patient, proved stronger than brute strength. Sira flew near, her scales glinting in icy light. "Queen, this human is saving us," she shouted. Lyra nodded, feeling both pride and astonishment. She had ruled for centuries, but she had never seen such courage from one so small. Ethan finished the console repairs and activated it. Beams of energy targeted enemy ships automatically, striking with precision. One by one, alien ships fell back. The dragons roared in victory, circling high above the city. Even as the battle ended, more threats appeared. Small alien craft tried to sneak around the city walls. Ethan did not hesitate. He adjusted energy flows to the outer shields, rerouted power from broken engines, and created a temporary barrier using spare conduits. The small force was blocked and forced to retreat. Lucas cheered. "How did you think of that?" Ethan shrugged. "I just fixed what was broken." That's all. The dragons listened and watched, realizing humans did not fight the same way they did. Humans observed, adapted, and solved problems without fear. After the battle, the city was safe for now. Dragons landed across the plains, tired but alive. Lyra descended to where Ethan stood. She looked at him with new respect. "Human, your courage and skill saved lives today. Dragons who once doubted humans now see what they are capable of. You are extraordinary." Ethan felt a small thrill, but he shook his head. "I didn't do it alone. I just fixed things. That's what my father taught me." Lyra's golden eyes softened. She had never heard a human speak with such humility. Yet she also understood that humans could be more dangerous than any dragon if they used their minds. Sira approached. "Queen, we should teach others to work with humans. They can fix what we cannot. We may survive because of them." Lyra nodded. She had ruled for centuries, but never had she thought of humans as allies in this way. Ethan had changed everything. Dragons had strength, magic, and fire, but humans had patience, logic, and creativity. Together, they were stronger than either alone. That evening, the blizzard returned lightly, snow drifting over the plains. Ethan walked slowly back to the crystal cave with Lyra. He was exhausted but felt proud. He had helped dragons, defended the city, and proven that humans were capable of great things. Lyra flew above, her wings keeping watch over the city, and yet she did not scold or interfere. She had learned to trust the boy. His courage and mind had proven themselves in the cold and the fight. Inside the cave, Ethan warmed himself near the fire. Crystals glowed softly, filling the room with color. He thought about the day, the machines, the battle, the dragons, and the humans who had helped. He thought of his father who had taught him to fix broken things and to never give up. "Dad," he whispered, "I hope I'm doing okay." The warmth of the crystals and the glow from the fire made him feel safe. For the first time, he felt that he belonged somewhere, even among dragons. Queen Lyra landed nearby, folding her wings carefully. She watched him quietly. Humans had always been strange to her, but now she understood. Their minds were sharp, their courage quiet but steady. They could survive storms, fix broken things, and face dangers that dragons sometimes could not. She realized that humans could be partners, not just servants or prey. And perhaps, in the hands of one determined human boy, they could change the course of the dragon kingdom. The night passed slowly. Snow drifted outside and the wind whispered over the ice. Ethan slept, dreaming of engines, machines, and dragons flying high. Lyra kept watch, her golden eyes scanning the horizon. She thought about the next challenges, the enemies who might come, and the humans who could face them. Courage, patience, and understanding. These were weapons dragons did not have, and humans wielded them naturally. Ethan Gray, small and human, had proven that strength came in many forms. Morning arrived with pale light over the ice plains. Ethan woke, stretching. He knew the day would bring new tests, new challenges, and perhaps new battles, but he was ready. He had learned to trust himself, to fix things, and to survive. Dragons had learned to trust humans. Queen Lyra looked down at him, a silent promise in her gaze. They would face the future together, human and dragon, small and large, mind and strength combined. As Ethan stepped out of the crystal cave, snow crunching beneath his boots, he looked at the city in the distance. Engines hummed, shields glowed, and dragons soared in the sky. The northern territories had been saved for now, and the humans had proven their worth. Ethan smiled faintly. He thought of his father, of lessons learned, and whispered again, "I'll keep fixing things. That's what I do." And with that, the human boy walked toward the city, ready for the next challenge, unaware that the dragons were beginning to see humans in a new light. Not as weak creatures, but as allies, problem solvers, and perhaps the key to surviving a world full of storms, fire, and war. The battle had been won, but the adventure had only just begun. The next morning. The sky was pale and clear. Snow covered the plains in soft white, and the sun shone faintly through thin clouds. Ethan Gray woke in the crystal cave, stretching his stiff arms. The warmth from the glowing crystals made him feel safe. He had survived the storm, repaired the dragon machines, and even helped defend the city. Now, Queen Lyra had asked him to come with her to a place he had never seen before, the ancient library beneath the Dragon Palace. "Human, today you will learn something about us," Lyra said as she led him through narrow, icy paths. "These are the secrets of our ancestors, machines you repaired. They were not built alone. Humans helped once long ago. Most dragons have forgotten this. You may find what we have hidden." Ethan's eyes widened. He had never thought that humans had a history with dragons here. I didn't know," he said. Lyra glanced at him. "Few know. Humans are thought weak and unimportant, yet you survived and repaired what others could not. Perhaps you are ready." They descended through tunnels of ice and crystal into a massive hall. Walls were lined with glowing panels and ancient books, some so old the writing had faded. Massive crystal engines hummed quietly, still alive but showing signs of wear. Ethan walked slowly, amazed. The machines he had fixed before seemed smaller here, simpler yet elegant. He traced a finger along a console and whispered, "Dad would love this, all these designs, all these ideas." Lyra watched silently, her golden eyes reflecting light. She had never seen a human show such quiet reverence for knowledge. They reached a large chamber. In the center was a machine unlike any Ethan had seen before. It was a relic, a mixture of crystal and metal, pipes twisting like roots of a tree, glowing faintly. Lyra gestured for him to approach. "This stores our history. It was built by dragons and humans long ago. Humans gave knowledge, machines, and ideas. Dragons gave power and magic. Together we created harmony, but pride and fear erased this memory. Humans were forgotten." Ethan stared at the relic. He felt awe and sadness. "All this, humans helped build it, and dragons just forgot," Lyra nodded. "Yes, many dragons thought humans weak. Few remembered our past, but perhaps it is time to see the truth." Ethan studied the relic carefully. He touched levers, traced crystal veins, and listened to faint hums. He felt it like it spoke to him. He whispered, "I can hear it, it wants to tell us something." Lyra lowered her head closer. "Listen, human. Remember the lessons you learned from fixing machines. Patience, attention, care. The past wants to speak. You may bring it back to life." Ethan nodded. He took a deep breath and began connecting small circuits, aligning crystal channels, and gently pressing old buttons. Sparks flew, but he did not panic. He remembered his father's words, "Never fight a machine. Listen. Understand." Slowly, the relic began to glow brighter. Soft images appeared in the air, humans and dragons working side by side. Humans lifted heavy machinery, built engines, and adjusted circuits. Dragons flew overhead, using magic to power devices, breathing fire carefully to melt frozen conduits, helping, not destroying. Ethan watched, amazed. Humans had been more than helpers. They had been partners. He felt pride swell inside him. We humans were not just small and weak, we were needed. Lyra's golden eyes softened. She had never thought humans had been this important. "You see, human, we have forgotten, but you remember." Ethan worked for hours, repairing small connections in the relic to make the history clear. More images formed. Dragon councils meeting with humans, planning machines, building cities together. Humans teaching dragons patience and logic. Dragons teaching humans about power and magic. A world united, strong, balanced. Ethan whispered, "This is amazing. Dad would be proud if he could see this." He always said fixing things, it brings understanding, and understanding brings strength. Lyra tilted her head. Your father sounds wise. Humans learn quickly from those who teach. Ethan smiled faintly. He missed his father, but he felt his lessons alive inside him. Suddenly, a warning light blinked on one side of the chamber. A weak pulse of energy had been detected. Ethan turned quickly. Queen, something's wrong. Part of the relic is unstable. If we don't fix it, it could collapse. Lyra growled softly, and she and Ethan moved toward the damaged section. Pipes had cracked, crystals were fractured, and old magic pulses were weak. Ethan knelt down and examined the damage. He traced the lines with his fingers. I can repair this. Just need to reroute energy and stabilize the flow. He pulled out his tools, connecting wires, reinforcing supports, and carefully adjusting crystal veins. Sparks flew, smoke rose, but he stayed calm. Patience and care guided his hands. Sierra and other dragons hovered nearby. Human, do you think you can fix it before it fails completely? Ethan did not answer immediately. He focused. He traced broken circuits and adjusted energy conduits, carefully listening to the hum. Slowly, the relic stabilized. The lights brightened, the energy flows became steady, and the images of dragons and humans solidified. The history of partnership had returned. Lyra exhaled, wings folding. Human, you have done what dragons alone could not. You have restored our past. Ethan smiled faintly. I just listened and fixed it. That's what my father taught me. The chamber was quiet, filled only with humming machines and glowing crystals. Ethan felt tired but satisfied. He had learned that humans had been forgotten, that dragons had erased important truths, and that now, with care and patience, the past could be restored. He whispered, I hope humans and dragons can work together again. It would be better than fighting. Lyra lowered her head. Perhaps. Your work shows us the value of humans. Your courage and skill are rare. Outside, the sky was brightening. Snow had melted in patches, revealing ice plains below. Ethan walked carefully with Lyra through the library corridors. Queen, why did dragons forget? He asked. Lyra's voice was deep, sad, pride, fear. Dragons believed our power alone was enough. Humans were small, fragile, and temporary. We thought we could survive without them. We were wrong, Ethan shook his head. But now we know, humans can help and we can fix what is broken together. Lyra nodded slowly. Yes, and perhaps it is time to teach others, to show the dragons what humans can do. The past can guide the future. As they returned to the surface, Ethan looked at the city below. Dragons flew above, humans worked beside them, repairing engines, cleaning shields, and moving supplies. He realized that small actions could change the world. One human could make a difference. One machine repaired could save thousands. He thought of his father who had always said, listen to what is broken, and it will tell you how to heal. Now he understood fully. Not just machines, but people, dragons, and the world itself could be fixed this way. Queen Lyra landed gently beside him. Human, you have done more than fix machines. You have restored memory. You have reminded dragons that humans are important. For this, you will have honor among us. Ethan shook his head. I don't want honor, I just want to fix things. That's all I know. Lyra studied him carefully. She had ruled for centuries, but she had never met anyone like Ethan. Courage, patience, humility, skill. This human boy had all qualities dragons rarely valued. She realized humans were not just helpers. They were teachers, problem solvers, and perhaps the future of the dragon world. That evening, the northern territories were quiet. The storm had ended, and the city hummed with energy. Dragons and humans moved together, repairing and rebuilding. Ethan rested in the crystal cave, thinking of the day's work. He had seen the past, restored history, and helped dragons understand the value of humans. He felt proud but humble. He whispered again to the crystals, Dad, I hope I'm making you proud. I'm learning to fix more than just machines now. Maybe I'm learning to fix the world. Lyra perched above, watching the boy sleep. She had seen many humans, but none had this patience, skill, and quiet strength. She thought about the future. Humans and dragons together could be unstoppable. Courage alone was not enough. Logic, patience, and understanding made a stronger force. And Ethan Gray, small and human, had already shown that he had all of these. She allowed herself a small smile. Perhaps the storms ahead would be easier to face, now that humans were remembered and dragons had learned to listen. The night passed slowly. Snow drifted across the plains and wind whispered over the ice. The past had returned, and with it, hope for the future. Ethan slept peacefully, unaware that he had not only restored machines and history, but also the trust between humans and dragons. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but for now, the Northern Territories were safe. Human ingenuity, patience, and courage had restored what had been lost, and dragons were learning to respect a species they had once forgotten. And as dawn broke over the icy horizon, a quiet promise hung in the air. Humans and dragons could work together, and perhaps the strongest fire was not just in the dragon's breath, but in a human heart that had learned to listen, repair, and care. The morning was cold, but the sky was clear. Snow sparkled across the frozen plains, and the sun reflected off the ice in bright white light. Ethan Gray woke in the crystal cave, stretching tired arms. His body was sore from the work of the past days, but his heart felt light. He had repaired machines, restored history, and even helped the dragons fight enemies. Yet he knew today would bring a new challenge. Queen Lyra had called for him. She had something important to show him, something that might change the future of humans and dragons forever. He followed Lyra across the ice plains. Dragons flew above, circling, wings cutting through the cold air. Humans moved carefully below, repairing engines and clearing paths. The Northern Territories were alive with energy and motion, a mix of dragon power and human skill. Ethan felt pride, but he reminded himself that he was only one person. His father's lessons stayed with him. Small hands could fix big problems if guided by patience and care. They reached a plateau above the city. From here, Ethan could see the entire Northern Territory. Massive machines hummed in the distance, shields glowed, and dragons soared high. But in the far distance, dark shapes moved across the ice. Another alien fleet had appeared, larger and stronger than before. They were moving directly toward the city, their weapons glowing. Ethan's stomach tightened. He had helped before, but this was more than repairing machines. This was a battle. Queen Lyra landed beside him. Human, the aliens return. They are strong and many dragons fear them. Our people may not survive without help. Will you aid us again? Ethan swallowed, looking at the fleet. Yes, I can help. Dad, I can do this if I focus and stay calm. Lyra's eyes softened. She had never seen a human so small face such danger without fear. Good, we will rely on your skill and patience. Together we may turn the tide. They rushed to the city defenses. Ethan climbed control towers, checking engines, shields, and energy flows. Sparks flew from damaged circuits, but he did not panic. He traced wires, adjusted crystal conduits, and rerouted power from spare channels. Lucas Brown arrived with reinforcements, small human teams bringing tools and parts. Together, they moved quickly, fixing critical systems and preparing the city for the attack. Dragons took to the sky. Their roars echoed across the plains, fire glowing from their mouths. Alien ships moved in tight formation, firing energy beams and missiles. Shields flickered where damage had occurred, but Ethan's quick repairs kept them strong. Every time a conduit sparked or a panel broke, Ethan adjusted it immediately, keeping the city alive. The aliens did not expect humans to act so quickly. They had thought dragons alone would fight, but human skill changed the battlefield. Sierra flew close to Ethan. Human, the enemy is too strong. How do you keep up? Ethan did not look up. I just fix what breaks one thing at a time, that's all I know. The dragons watched, amazed. They had strength, fire, and magic, but humans had patience, quick thinking, and calm minds. These small skills were making the difference between life and death. Energy beams that should have struck the city were absorbed by shields, engines roared to life again, and weapons recharged faster than the aliens could destroy them. Hours passed. The battle raged. Snow blew across the plains, ice cracked beneath massive dragon claws, and alien ships continued to attack. Ethan and Lucas worked tirelessly, repairing shields and engines. Dragons began to rely on them, sending messages and requests for assistance. One dragon captain shouted, "Human, repair the generator now or we will lose the wall." Ethan moved quickly, rerouting power and stabilizing the crystal channels. Sparks flew, smoke rose, but the generator roared to life. The wall held. Dragons cheered. Finally, Queen Lyra saw an opening. The alien fleet had grown disorganized, distracted by the human repairs and dragon attacks. She circled high and breathed a powerful stream of fire, followed by the other dragons. Ethan adjusted targeting systems for the dragon attacks, aligning energy beams with precision. The combination of human logic and dragon power struck the enemy fleet with great effect. Ships began to retreat, unable to break through the strengthened shields. The city was safe for now. After the battle, the dragons landed across the plains. They were tired, injured, but alive. Ethan wiped sweat and snow from his face. He looked at the city below, glowing with repaired machines and shields. He felt proud but humble. "We did it," Lucas said beside him. Ethan shook his head. "I just fixed things. Dragons and humans did the rest together." Queen Lyra approached, folding her wings. Her golden eyes shone with warmth. "Human, you have done more than repair machines or fight battles. You have changed the way dragons see humans. Our people will remember this. We owe you much." Ethan felt small but happy. He had only listened, repaired, and worked carefully. Yet dragons recognized him as a hero. He thought of his father who had taught him patience and care. "Dad, I hope you're proud," he whispered. "I think I'm learning to fix more than machines. Maybe I'm learning to fix trust too." Lyra nodded slowly. She had ruled for centuries, but never had she seen a human accomplish so much. Courage, humility, and skill, all in one small human boy. That night, the northern territories were quiet. Snow drifted lightly across the plains. Dragons and humans moved side by side, repairing minor damage, restoring supplies, and celebrating survival. Ethan rested in the crystal cave, watching faint lights flicker through the walls. He thought of everything that had happened: surviving the blizzard, repairing machines, defending the city, restoring the ancient history. He had learned that humans could be clever, brave, and patient in ways dragons could not imagine. Queen Lyra landed beside him. "Human, a choice remains. You may stay with us, teach humans to work with dragons, repair, and build, or you may return to your people. Both choices are important." Ethan thought carefully. Staying meant teaching and helping, but returning meant helping more humans and sharing what he had learned. He looked at the glowing crystals and the dragons around him, then at the frozen plains stretching toward human settlements. Finally, he said softly, "Queen, I will return home. Other humans need me just like your people need you. I can teach them to fix things, to help, to survive. Dragons will remember me here, and I will remember you." Lyra studied him silently. She had not expected such humility. "Very well, human. Your choice is wise. You leave as a hero, not only to humans but to dragons as well. May your skill and patience continue to save lives." She lowered her head in respect, a gesture she rarely gave. Ethan felt a warmth in his chest. He had never imagined dragons could show respect like this. The next morning, Ethan prepared to leave. He packed his small tools and supplies, feeling the weight of everything he had learned. Dragons gathered to see him off. Queen Lyra hovered above, wings spread wide, golden eyes watching. Sira and other dragon captains bowed slightly. Humans from the city waved, their faces full of admiration. Ethan stepped carefully onto the plains, looking back one last time. "Goodbye," he whispered. "Thank you for teaching me and thank you for trusting me." As he began his journey toward the human settlements, he thought of the machines, the battles, and the lessons. Patience and care could fix what seemed broken. Courage and skill could change the future. Humans and dragons had learned to work together, and he had helped build that bridge. He smiled faintly. He could feel his father's presence in every action, every repair, every calm decision he had made. Days later, Ethan reached a small human settlement at the edge of the frozen plains. He told stories of dragons, of battles, and of machines that could be fixed. Humans listened, wide-eyed, and began to trust themselves more. He taught them what he had learned: to observe carefully, to repair patiently, to help others. Slowly, human settlements began working better, surviving storms that once seemed impossible. Meanwhile, dragons in the north remembered Ethan Gray. Queen Lyra told them stories of his courage, his skill, and his patience. Humans were no longer seen as weak, but as partners and problem solvers. Small hands could fix big problems, minds could solve challenges strength alone could not. The bond between humans and dragons grew stronger, and peace and cooperation became possible. One evening, as Ethan sat repairing a small engine for a human settlement, he thought quietly, "I did it. I fixed things, machines, trust, even history. Maybe my father was right all along. Fixing things can change the world." The wind blew gently, carrying snow across the plains. He smiled, knowing that humans and dragons would face the future together, strong in ways neither had imagined. Small hands, patient minds, and brave hearts had built a new path. And high above, Queen Lyra watched the horizon, thinking of the human boy who had taught dragons the value of patience, humility, and care. She remembered his words, his actions, and his courage. The strongest fire in the universe was not only in dragon breath or magic, but in a human heart that listened, repaired, and believed that even small hands could change the world. Ethan continued his journey, helping humans, teaching lessons, and fixing what was broken. Dragons continued their work in the north, but the memory of one boy, small yet powerful in his courage and patience, would guide them for generations. The bond between humans and dragons was stronger than ever, and the world, though still harsh and full of storms, had hope. For a human who had learned to fix things, the future was not just survival. It was a chance to build, repair, and unite. The legacy of a small boy from a distant world had begun. And with each machine repaired, each person helped, and each dragon-human bond strengthened, the universe itself seemed brighter, warmer, and full of promise.